A day that Minnesota Vikings fans have waited for a long time. It's a day that sports fans loathe, and it's a day that sports fans love. It is Power Rankings Day, and random websites like ESPN.com, NFL.com, The Herd does it on his show. I saw Pro Football Network did power rankings of their own, and the Minnesota Vikings have skyrocketed in most of the rankings. On ESPN's rankings, last week, they were ranked 14th. They moved up 11 spots to number 3. It says, and I should share the screen with you so you can read along with me. There haven't been many issues for a team that ranks 4th in the NFL in both scoring, 26 points per game, and overall offensive efficiency, 72.03. But if we are nitpicking, the Vikings continue to cover for subpar play from right guard Ed Ingram. Through 3 weeks, Ingram ranks 54th in pass blocking win rate, 82%, and 44th in run block win rate, 68.1% among guards. The Vikings could mix in veteran Dalton Reisner, a friend of the podcast, by the way, when he is activated from injured reserve. But if the worst thing you can say about an offense is that one interior offensive lineman is underperforming, you're probably in pretty good shape. That's what Kevin Seifert had to say about the Minnesota Vikings after being 3-0. So that's ESPN's ranking. NFL.com's ranking, they have the Minnesota Vikings ranked number 3 as well. They had them ranked 15th last week. They moved them up 12 spots, and now they have them to number 3. So let's see what the NFL.com rankings had to say. It said, Vikings fans, this is Eric Edholm speaking. Yes, I hear you. You've proven your point, and it's time for that point to be reflected properly in these rankings. I harbored some doubt about Sam Darnold and a banged-up offense, as well as a defense that had been impressive the first 2 games, but with clear caveats. Throw those concerns out the window following the 27-point blowout of the Texans, who were pretty much cooked by the third quarter. Darnold was sacked 4 times, but the offense took advantage of great field position on the first 2 scores. That was thanks to a masterful defensive game plan from Brian Flores, who could once again be a head coaching candidate to watch this coming off season. He blitzed the heck out of C.J. Stroud, and the plan worked. Stroud had been effective versus extra rushers his first season plus, but the Vikings were undaunted in coming after him. And what a sweet day it had to be for Jonathan Greener to sting his former team for 3 sacks. So 2 of the top ones believe that the Minnesota Vikings should be ranked number 3. Colin Cowherd said the exact same thing as well. And then there's the Pro Football Network. The Pro Football Network is not a believer in the Minnesota Vikings' abilities throughout the first 3 games. They have the San Francisco 49ers ranked 4th, the Houston Texans ranked 8th, and the Minnesota Vikings ranked 9th. Now, I want to be careful here, because these people that do these rankings aren't people that look at the rankings as week to week. They look at them over a year-long span. At least the smart ones do. The smart ones look at the teams, they look at what they're capable of, and they base that team off of how they think they are going to do at the end of the year. Not now, but at the end of the year. And I think the Pro Football Network are answering the question that they don't believe in Sam Darnold after 3 games. And I have a crazy Sam Darnold statistic that I'm going to point out from his history with another team in a different podcast. But that's what this Pro Football Network is telling us. They're telling us that they don't believe in Sam Darnold's ability to maintain this consistency throughout the entire regular season. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. 3 games is 3 games. It's more than 1. It's more than 2. That's how math works. But the Minnesota Vikings, if I was to pick a Super Bowl contender right now among all the NFL teams, the Minnesota Vikings wouldn't be top 3. If I was to pick a Super Bowl contender, I'd think Bills. I would think Chiefs. Honestly, a healthy Justin Herbert, I would pick above the Minnesota Vikings as a Super Bowl contender. The Detroit Lions, I would pick above the Minnesota Vikings as a Super Bowl contender. Mid-season, I might pick the Green Bay Packers as a better chance to win the Super Bowl than the Minnesota Vikings once Jordan Love is healthy. Even though I'm not a full believer in Jordan Love, we'll have to see what it looks like mid-season. The Seattle Seahawks might be a greater Super Bowl contender than the Minnesota Vikings. And the San Francisco 49ers, if they get Christian McCaffrey back mid-season, he went to Germany to do a little experiment on his Achilles tendonitis thing. It's like, there's a lot of teams still, even though the Minnesota Vikings have dominated through the first 3 weeks of the season, that I would rank higher than the Minnesota Vikings in terms of winning a Super Bowl. I am not sold completely on the Minnesota Vikings being a Super Bowl threat. I am not sold on them running through the NFC and being that team. I think it is way more important for a team to be hot at the end of the season than for a team to be hot early in the season. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles started the season incredibly. Everyone was talking about, oh man, they're just going to mow through the NFC. They started off their season with a bunch of wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They started the season 5-0, lost their 6th game. Then they went 5 in a row again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were 10-1 after 11 games. Everyone's talking about how they're just going to mow through the NFC and advance through the Super Bowl, and it's going to be easy pickings for the Eagles. And then everything fell apart. They looked like a team that couldn't even get a first down at the end of the season. Loss, win, loss. Lost 5 of their last 6 games. I would rather have a team hot at the end of the season than hot right now. I don't think it's blasphemous for me to say that I am not sold on the Minnesota Vikings being Super Bowl contenders yet, or even NFC Championship contenders. We will see what this looks like mid-season. And I would be happy to say I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong. You know, people go after these power rankings folks like they mean anything. But it's just power rankings. It's funny how easily people get offended because my team wasn't ranked in the top 5. Oh my gosh. What's that word that rhymes with wussies? Yeah. So the Minnesota Vikings ranked 3rd on ESPN, ranked 3rd on NFL.com, and ranked 3rd in the herd hierarchy, but ranked 9th in the Pro Football Network power rankings. And if I'm being honest, which I always am, I lean more towards the Pro Football Network power rankings than I do any of the other ones. Because show me mid-season that Sam Darnold can keep this consistency, and show me mid-season that the Minnesota Vikings, even though they've defeated Brock Purdy and the Niners, CJ Stroud and the Texans, show me mid-season that you can do it. Mow through the rest of the NFL schedule, and then maybe I will be completely sold on the Minnesota Vikings.